Hello fellow FPL managers and welcome to the first video of the FPL 2019-2020 season. I did live stream my first draft. The date was released just like an hour after it had become official and it was able to get on the desktop and make your first drafts and your teams. And if you've seen that video, then you can see that it's almost completely different. This is probably draft number 400, just like pretty much everybody else. In today's video, we're going to be looking at budget options and value players, and this is taken from internet and articles and sources from all around, as well as my own thoughts and opinions. So if you like this, please leave a like and maybe subscribe. I'm going to be doing some videos for the preseason as well. So we'll be obviously just going through the positions: goalkeeper, then defense, then midfield, and then striker. And it's like I said, it's going to be budget options and players that I think are sort of worth their value. Just before we get started, I also wanted to just mention that I had made a post before and my idea was going to be 5 at the back. I do feel like 5 defenders it's a very safe way to start the season. And I feel that if you do, but now I'm leaning towards more go 4 at the back because there's too many points, I think, in defense. But I do feel that 4 premium defenders is the best way to start the season. And then when you do that first wildcard, you can change it up if that's what you want. But I personally would, with the importance now that, and the points that defenders can earn, especially wing backs, I just feel that if you want a safe, consistent start to the season, that's really where you want to go. And I want to remember them. I think it's 33% is the likeliness of clean sheets. August is the biggest month for clean sheets in the entire season. So if there is going to be a time when you sort of invest heavily in your defense, then it is that very first month of the season. So starting with goalkeepers anyway. This is the option that I'm going for. It is Ryan and Button, and it is purely because first, a lot of people are agreeing it's the problem this year is that those budget 4.5 million goalkeepers have been increased to 5 million. So you're either going to go sort of 5.56 million and go quite an expensive goalkeeper, or you're going to go all the way down to 4.5. So Ryan and Button at Brighton, they're my choice at the minute because you're spending like the minimum amount for a definite 1 or 2 pointer. Because they're both at Brighton and they only have 2 goalkeepers. So I'm not saying that they're the best, but in terms of covering all your bases, Ryan and Button are the best options to start off the season with. The next one, you can see I've got Southampton here, and it's going to be Gunn. Now, he only had 1,000 minutes last season, but it's towards the end of the season when the new manager came in that he sort of became their number 1. Again, I personally feel a little bit weird. I don't think Forster is going to be his rival. It's going to be McCarthy, but it does seem like Angus Gunn is the nailed-on number 1. And another 4.5 million goalkeeper people are looking at is Heaton at Burnley. Again, 1,700 minutes. He lost his place originally after that injury. Pope doesn't seem to be in the mix right now, but Hart has apparently been told he can leave. So that should mean that if Heaton was the number 1 choice at the end of last season, mid to end of last season, then you would expect him to carry on, and it doesn't look like it's going to be Hart. So it's going to be Heaton, Pope, and Heaton looks like the nailed-on number 1. So they would be my choices for goalkeeper for budget and value options. So now we're going to move on to defense, and like I mentioned before, people are going to go maybe 5 or at least 4 premium defenders at the back. I don't really think I've seen any squads at the moment that doesn't have either sort of Robertson, Virgil van Dijk, or Alexander-Arnold, with a little bit of Man City, aka Laporte or Walker or Mendy. I don't think I've seen really any squad so far that doesn't have like 2 Liverpool defenders and a Manchester City defender. And of course, that for me is a very solid foundation to the start of the season. So people are looking for that bench 3rd choice sub perhaps, or even just a cheaper option to go with those premiums if they want to do 4 at the back. So I'm going to start off with Kelly. He's 4 million. He is actually the first choice cover for centre back at Crystal Palace, but he can play right back. And with Wan-Bissaka now at Manchester United, right now he is the only playable right back that Crystal Palace has. You would expect them to sign a player to replace Wan-Bissaka at right back, but if they don't, first game of the season, Kelly looks sort of set on to be playing at right back. If they do bring someone in, I would still maybe have Kelly. He is my third choice sub, so I would personally have him because he's 4 million, he's my third choice sub, and he played just over 1,000 minutes last season. So 4 million, you got a player that is the first choice backup for centre back and currently first choice right back. But if someone comes in, he'll be the first choice cover for right back also. For your third choice sub, that isn't, I don't think, too bad. Next up, we're going to West Ham's #1 defender. That's Diop. He played just shy of 3,000 minutes, so he is their #1 choice. Him and Balbuena, I think, are the first choice partnership. He's 4.5 million, but he's also linked to bigger clubs. So similar to when we talk about the likes of Zaha later on, if he does move on to a bigger club, great. But if he doesn't, you've got a mid-table team with a player that's going to play about 1,000 minutes. And for 4.5 million, I don't think that's a terrible option. And again, we're sticking with the 4.5 million options, and we're off to Dunk. A lot of people quite like the Dunk-Duffy partnership, but actually, Duffy's price has gone up to 5 million. And Dunk isn't... You would prefer Duffy, but now he's gone up to 5 million, just like the goalkeepers. He doesn't feel worth it. So you've got a player that's played about 3,151 minutes. So he is the first choice at Brighton. Again, you're not really choosing Brighton for clean sheets. He could be your first, second, or third sub. I wouldn't really be starting Dunk unless they've got a very, very favourable fixture. But he's had 42 attempts in the last 2 seasons inside the opposition penalty box. So he does have some kind of attacking threat. But again, you're getting a first choice starter, and if he's in a rotation with like a Palace or a Watford defender, and they're at home to Sheffield United, or maybe a newly promoted side, or a side that's bang out of form and Brighton's in a little bit of form, he might be the right option to sort of rotate in there. And we're going to Burnley again, and we're going to be looking at Taylor. First choice wing back or full back for Burnley, 3,240 minutes, so he is the nailed on left back, especially since I believe now he's the only left back at Burnley. But for me, Burnley last year, it was kind of a one-off. Like a few years ago when Chelsea had a terrible season after winning the title, Burnley the season before last were great. They got Europa League football, but they had a few injuries and their squad was tiny and they didn't really make any signings. And I think that's why they struggled last season. So for me, Burnley is kind of famous for that, being difficult to break down, strong at home, really strong defensively. They just don't have that much in sort of flair and attack. So if you're looking for a defender that might get you a clean sheet, especially when they're at home, but he's also their fullback, then I think for 4.5 million, Charlie Taylor is a pretty good choice. Going on to one of the newly promoted sides, and this is something that I saw from a post. It's Aarons, the young fullback at Norwich. Now he had 8 attacking returns last season, which, again, I know it's in the Championship, but he's a young player. He was the Young Player of the Year last year in the Championship. He was in the Team of the Season for the Championship as well. So for 4.5 million, you're getting... And out of the 3 sides, I feel like Norwich is the most attacking. They scored the most goals. Yes, they concede a lot. I'm not suggesting this player for a lot of clean sheets, but he's a very attacking fullback. They sing his praises at Norwich. He has been linked to big clubs as well. So for me, 4.5 million again for a very, very attacking fullback isn't a terrible option. And again, we're off back to Southampton, and it's going to be Bednarik. He was everybody's, 4 million last year. He was everyone's 4 million substitute defender, and then he became a starting 11 over 2,000 minutes again when the new manager came in. So I'm keeping him here because for 4.5 million again, I think you're getting a first team footballer for your subs bench. I'm not, again, similar to what I was saying about Dunk and the likes of Kelly and Taylor, you're going to rotate these players out. So if you're going to go 3 premium and then 2 cheap rotations to be your 4th defender, so for example, Brighton have a good fixture and Southampton don't, then you're going to play Taylor over Bednarik. If Southampton have a good fixture and Burnley don't, then you're going to play Bednarik over Taylor. Maybe, it's up to you, but this is just the idea of finding players to have that kind of rotation at the back. Going on to someone that a lot of people have mentioned, who I personally am not going to be going towards, it's Matt Ritchie. 5.5 million at Newcastle, and the reason why this is been a big thing is one, he's a position change. He's a 5.5 million defender, but he actually plays in midfield towards the attack, and two, he takes penalties. The reason why I'm going to avoid Matt Ritchie is for two reasons. One, no Rafa Benitez. So that leads on to number two. You don't know where he's going to play or if he's going to play under new management. And then my third point for this is I feel like Newcastle are going to struggle because of no Rafa Benitez. Now, if they get this takeover, this multi-billionaire takeover, then things might be different. But again, you're looking at the player, not the team. So if a billionaire owner comes in and he gives, Mourinho the job, which is apparently in the mix right now, is Matt Ritchie going to be playing? Is he going to be playing in defence or midfield, or at all? Is he going to be taking the penalties at Newcastle? So I personally would not go towards it, but a lot of people have been saying that for his position and his price, and he takes penalties, he is a very good option. And sort of going now to the, I don't want to say bottom of the barrel, I don't want to give him, but again, this was a post that I saw, and it is Lundstram at Sheffield United. He's 4 million. He's going to be, if you've got him, he's going to be your third choice, your last resort player. The reason why is he had only 10 appearances last season. He's not in the starting 11. He is on the bench, but he's a defender on FPL, and Sheffield United fans have been saying he never ever, they have no idea why he is a defender on FPL. He's never played defense. He's a defensive midfielder. So why is he a good option as your last choice substitute? One, he's 4 million, you can't get cheaper. Two, he's actually a midfielder, not a defender. And three, when he has made those 10 appearances, it's to protect a lead or maybe a valuable draw. So with Sheffield United not being one of the top teams in the league, they're now, towards, if not the actual most favourite to get relegated, that if they are in a winning position or looking like they're going to get a valuable draw, he's probably going to come on to protect the lead. They're not going to be playing three attacking midfielders when they're winning 1-0 away at home at Everton. They're going to bring him on to suck up the play, win possession back, right? So he's a good option for the third choice for the reasons that I've said. So now we're going to be going on to midfield. I do feel that in terms of value, there are some good options in midfield, but in terms of budget, not so much. So the first one I'm going to be talking about, and remember, this is value, not just budget. It's got to be Kevin De Bruyne. 9.5 million. Now, if you just ignore that he played less than 1,000 minutes. We know he's been injured. And the couple of things, the two players I'm going to talk about now, I'm not necessarily saying pick them for the first week, but do if you want a punt. Because like I was saying earlier, that every team seems to have Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, Laporte, Robertson. If you want to go for that outside bet, the one that players don't go. So pretty much every team I've seen as well has Mo Salah. Are you going to captain Mo Salah? Yeah, if 50% of the game owns Mo Salah, 49% are probably going to captain him. But maybe captain Kane. Remember, you're not just looking at players for points. You're trying to beat all the other players. If you just copy everyone else's squads and copy everyone else's players, you're not going to stand out. For me, it's either you go for the top or you come last. There's no point in saying, oh, well, I just want to finish around 200,000. You want to be the one that says, hey, I found this year's Doherty or Wan-Bissaka first, or Diego Jota or Raul Jimenez. I found them first. I've had him in my side because I took that punt. Look at the likes of Billy Sharp, 6 million, Sheffield United. Have that punt. So the first one isn't for me even a punt. It's Kevin De Bruyne. If he is fit, so watch pre-season and then a day before or an hour before deadline for the first game of the season, if he's played preseason and he's played a few games and he's looking fit, for me, he's a 9.5 million midfielder who, when fit, is 11 to 12 million. He is the assist king. He is an absolute FPL hero. He's an amazing player. He's up there with like Lampard from years ago, getting all the points. So the only reason that he wasn't amazing last year was because he played a third of the minutes that he usually plays because of his injuries. So if he has a good preseason and he's fit, then play him. If he gets injured, then of course you've got to take him out. But if you know that he's fit and he is going to be in the starting 11, for me, 9.5 million, he is an obvious choice, especially if you cannot afford Salah and Sterling in your starting 11. And the next one, we're going to be going back in time again. It's going to be Alexis Sanchez. He is 7 million. Again, you've got to wait for preseason. He's having a good Copa America. You've got to wait for preseason. Is he in the plans? Is he going to start? If he is, he's 7 million. He, again, is a huge FPL player. Not from the last season, but from the season before that, from 2017-18 and before. He's a 152 2 seasons ago, but from his time at Arsenal, again, for 7 million, you're getting a player that on his day is an 11 to 12 million player. So if he has a good preseason, he finishes having a good Copa America, he has a good preseason, he comes back to United, he is in the starting 11, you're getting a 7 million Manchester United attacking player who is bang out of form, but when he gets back into his rhythm, remember, form is temporary, class is permanent. He is a class player. He has been an FPL legend for a few years, especially from his time at Arsenal. So if he can get just a tiny bit of that Arsenal form back at Manchester United, then for £7 million, you are getting an absolute bargain. Moving on from Sanchez, and we're going to be going to Chelsea. Two players at Chelsea for just one single reason. We're going to be looking at 5 million Kante and 5 million Jorginho, just for the simple reason to have them as your first choice sub. They are Chelsea players, so you get a top 6 player who's going to play an incredible amount of minutes. They're going to play pretty much every single minute. I personally am avoiding Chelsea assets. The most expensive player, the 7 million. You've got Pedro, Willian, and Olivier Giroud. They can't sign any players. We don't know what Pulisic is going to be worth yet. But for me personally, and they don't have a manager right now, it looks like it could be Lampard. I am staying clear of Chelsea. The only reason I'm saying that is if you're playing with a 4-4-2 or you're playing 4, you just need one midfielder or your first choice substitute. If that is Kante or Jorginho, you're getting a top 6 player, about 100 points a season. He's not going to be great, but if something happens, like you've got Sterling, he gets rested, he gets rotated for a game, you know that your first choice sub is going to definitely play. You're not putting any risk in that. If you see a Chelsea side and Kante is not in it, he's injured, and if he's injured, you've already made adjustments for that. Like, there's no way Kante gets dropped. So the reason why I'm mentioning him is have him as your first choice sub. I'm not saying it's putting him in your starting 11, but first choice sub or second choice sub if you're comfortable with a striker as your first choice. Then for me, he's a nailed on. So I'd go definitely Kante over Jorginho. Next one, we're going to go Zaha. Again, everyone knows, man, 35% of the game have got him in their side right now. He is only 7 million. He plays for Palace, but he is their main attacking threat. And he was a forward and he's been pushed back to midfield. He's linked to Arsenal, and this might be weird, but I prefer him at Crystal Palace. I don't think I want him to go to Arsenal. If he goes to Arsenal, will he play? He's not going to be the striker because that's the Lacazette Aubameyang, who, again, they get rotated out as it is. He's going to go probably as their winger. Now, as a proper winger, they've got Iwobi, who's only 6 million, so he might be a good shout as well. But for me, Zaha, 7 million, he's a midfielder, he's the key attacking threat, and if he stays at Palace, he is the main man, and he is pretty consistent. You can see in the last few seasons, 143, 136, 149, just for 7 million. I think he is a definite one to start the season with. Now I'm going to go for two sort of outside punts. The first one you can see who's in my side right now is Gundogan at Manchester City. So I constantly say I will not get Manchester City attackers. I would love Sterling, and I had Sterling a lot last year, and I had Sane and Aguero, but I just don't want that stress of Manchester City rotated. You know, they're at home to Norwich, and you think, wow, I'm going to triple captain Sterling. Bam, he gets rested. I can't remember if it was Sane or Sterling for the double game week. Triple captain him. Didn't play. It was Sane. He didn't play one of the games, and he only played a little bit of the second. So for me, I don't go for Manchester City players. So if De Bruyne is fit, De Bruyne will play. Edison and Laporte, pretty much those three players seem to be the nailed on ones, and Bernardo Silva. But FPL wise, Bernardo Silva on the pitch is amazing. But in terms of FPL returns and points, I'm not 100% sure. But Gundogan is 5.5 million. He was in the starting 11 at the end for the last few games of last season. He did play over 2,000 minutes for City last year. A lot of people think that if De Bruyne is fit and Fernandinho's fit, then Gundogan doesn't really play. But Fernandinho's getting a little bit older. Gundogan, like I said, in the last sort of 10 games or so, was in that starting 11. So for 5.5 million, you're getting a Manchester City player who actually has some pretty good returns. He got over 100 points last season. He got 6 goals and 3 assists for 5.5 million, and you're getting a City attacker. For me, he's my first choice sub. If I'm playing 4-3-3, if I'm playing 4-4-2, that's fine. He'll be on there because he doesn't often get subbed on, I would say. But again, 5.5 million, a quite attacking Manchester City player, and he's probably going to be my first substitute. Moving on from Gundogan, and my outside bet is going to be Yarmolenko at West Ham. And this is more of a gut feeling than anything. He got that horrible injury that basically ended his season last year. But in 456 minutes, he got 2 goals, 1 assist, and a clean sheet. But he just looks dangerous. He just reminds you as well of Felipe Anderson, who went absolutely ice cold in terms of form last year. But I feel that if Yarmolenko's fit, and Lanzini at 6.5 is not too bad, but I just feel at 6 million Yarmolenko, again, check him out pre-season, make sure he's fully fit and back in the side. But I would have maybe an outside punt on Yarmolenko at West Ham. And the final midfielder I'm going to talk about is Dendoncker, also in my side here at Wolves. I almost forgot about him. I've just had to quickly jump back in and put him in. He is in my side. I didn't want people to think I wasn't suggesting people I won't back myself. But Dendoncker, he did just under 1,500 minutes last season for Wolves, but it looks like now he's actually just completed his transfer fully from Anderlecht now on a permanent deal. But it looks like he is one of the main staples of that 3-man midfield that they've got now. He does miss quite a few chances, but you know, again, as sort of a second or third choice sub, you're getting a player who should be in the starting 11 for Wolves next year in that 3-man midfield. Yeah, he gets himself into the box as well, which isn't too bad, but again, it's a 4.5 million budget option. He's probably not going to be in your starting 11, but as a sub, he's the cheapest 4.5 million. In my opinion, of all the 4.5 million midfielders that you could have, so you've got, if we just have a quick look at them now, I think there's Hayden at Newcastle, the Stevens at Brighton, Mendy at Leicester, who lost his place. They're all right, but for me, Dendoncker, even though he's 5th on the list, and the others like Romeo did do a lot more minutes. He plays, I think he's a starting 11 for Southampton, but he played a lot fewer and got 5th. There's also Guendouzi at Arsenal, but for me, again, his yellow card magnet you could side with him, but personally, with the way that Wolves were playing, and now he looks like he's in the starting 11, he's played sort of 500 to 600 minutes fewer than the players around him, because now he's in the starting 11. He wasn't in the starting 11 at the start of last season, but now you got a starting 11 player who got 50 points, stick him on your bench, 4.5 million. I think he's a good budget option. Now we're moving on to our forwards. And the good thing about this is pretty much if you're not going the premium striker route, you can see that I do have Harry Kane in my side. You could actually use any 3 of the players that I'm going to suggest, and you'll still have enough money to play Sterling and Salah and a stacked defense. So there are some pretty good options for value and budget in terms of strikers this year. The first one I'm going to talk about, maybe surprisingly for you, is actually Shane Long at Southampton. He is only 5 million, and again, towards the end of last season, he got I think he got 4 goals in the last sort of 10 games. But he got 5 goals, 2 assists, and towards the end of the season, he was the strike partner up front at Southampton. So he and Gundogan, I'm going to be watching pre-season. Again, the squad that I've got could change another 10 times before the start of the season. But right now, if I know that Shane Long is going to play and Gundogan isn't, I'm going to probably start with Shane Long up front. A lot of people they're going to go with my second person I'm going to suggest, and that's Calvert-Lewin at Everton. But the reason why I'm currently leaning towards Shane Long, 1, he's $1 million cheaper than Calvert-Lewin, and 2, in terms of stats and heat maps and touches and chances and goals, Shane Long is actually better. His expected goals and those sort of stats that I've been looking at, Shane Long actually has better stats for the last 10 games of last season. So if he can take that form into the next season, he is actually a better shout compared to Calvert-Lewin. The only difference is you can see Southampton fixtures, it's like good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Whereas Everton's start of the season is a sea of green and beige. They don't have a particularly difficult start to the season. But a lot of people are looking at Coleman, Deeney, Pickford, Richarlison, and Sigurdsson. So they might not have space for those three Everton options. So if you've not, then I think Shane Long would be the very cheap 5 million striker choice for me. So having a look at Calvert-Lewin, you can see he played just under 1,800 minutes, 6 goals, 5 assists. And he is, apparently he's been told, he is Everton's key main striker above Tosin, which doesn't surprise me, but I would be surprised if Everton do not bring in a proper striker for next season. He's young, he's learning, but you look at Everton's team, they've got pretty solid defense, they've got a great goalkeeper, a nice midfield. They just don't have that killer striker since Lukaku. So I would be surprised, but if Everton don't sign a striker, Calvert-Lewin seems to be number one, and he's only 6 million. Now we're going to go back to my side, and it's going to be King. Wilson's gone up to 8 million. If they would have been the same price, I would have gone for Wilson, but Wilson is 8 million, King is 6.5, and he's the strike partner of Wilson, so they're definitely both going to play. And King takes penalties, so I just feel that Bournemouth have got some great opening fixtures as well. But I'm leaning with King over Wilson because it's 1.5 million cheaper. They both play. They're both going to have sort of just as many chances. But if there's a penalty, and there's supposed to be more penalties coming with VAR, King is on penalty duty as well. So that's why I'm going to suggest King at 6.5. Someone who I would like to have in my team now, but I'm going to wait because I'm not happy with Wolves' fixtures, is Diogo Jota, 6.5 million. Jimenez is a million more, 7.5. And Jimenez was the standout sort of FPL cheap hero of last season. But a lot of the fans that I've seen posting online have actually saying that if you look at the second half of the season, especially the end of the season, Jota looked a lot more dangerous and a lot more chances than Jimenez. So a lot of the fans seem to be leaning towards Jota for next season's FPL than Jimenez, despite Jimenez having a great breakthrough season last year with Wolves. So again, 6.5, 7.5 million, you're saving yourself a million. He is the strike partner, Jimenez, so it's kind of similar to King, Wilson, Jota, Jimenez. So you're going to go either maybe King and Jimenez or Wilson and Jota. So those would be my sort of rotation options there. And finally, the one I'm going to suggest is Marcus Rashford at Manchester United. So he is the first choice Manchester United striker. Lukaku looks like he's on his way out, but it doesn't like Solskjaer is that keen on Lukaku. But 8.5 million, you're getting Manchester United's main striker. He is a talented player. And again, if you're not going to play with any premium strikers, I do feel that for 8.5 million, Rashford is a pretty good choice. So you could have Rashford, Wilson, Jota, or Jimenez, or Long, or Calvert-Lewin. You could have all three of those strikers playing week in, week out, and you can still have enough room to have Sterling, Salah, and a pretty stacked defense. So those are my budget options. You can see this is the squad. And currently, this is a team that I'm going with. Again, subject to change for the start of the season. But I'm interested to know what players are you suggesting for the start of this FPL season. Again, I was talking about 5 at the back. I think 5 is a little bit too much because I could take out Gundogan. I could put in Wan-Bissaka, play 5-5-3-2. But who's going to get more points? Wan-Bissaka now at United or Gundogan at Manchester City? So what I do is when I'm trying to pick a player for my starting 11 on my squad, I just ask myself a simple question. Who do I think will score more points? This player or this player? And then you look at not just the stats, but you look at the fixtures and you look at the form. But with pre-season, you're not really going to look at that for form, so you just got to kind of go with your gut as well as stats. So right now, I'm leaning towards 4-4-2. It could change to maybe even a 5-2-3 as well. That is something I would like to start the season a little bit more consistently and solid, and then wild card a full change. A lot of people don't like 5 at the back. They think it's it's not flexible. But I personally just argue that if you don't make a transfer for that very first game week, and you just wait till game week 2, you've got 2 free transfers, and with 2 free transfers, you can transform a 5-3-2 or a 5-2-3 to a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1 or whatever you want. So you only actually really need 2 transfers to get out of that situation. But that's what I'm going to leave it at for today. Please let me know in the comments below. I'll also be adding the head-to-head and the classic league. So please join that below. We've had a few hundred people for the last couple of seasons. So it'd be great if you guys could join again. So thank you for watching this video today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, have a good one.